This is Keith Kalfas, and I'm going to be reading from Pulling Your Own Strings by Dr. Wayne Dyer. What is this in my hand? I don't know if this is really cool or really creepy, but what song is this? My little sister lives in Alabama, and she texted me a couple weeks ago. Excuse me. And she said she needed my address again. I said, I thought you had my address, but we had moved. And so she wanted to send me something in the mail. And I opened the mail, and it was a music box. It plays, "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine." Those who don't know, I have two sisters. My one sister is early 40s, and my other sister is early 30s. I'm in the middle. The people I love most in this world, my wife and my two sisters. You mess with them, we got a problem, folks. Crypto cash. I hate my sister. I love my sisters. So, I'm going to read from Dr. Wayne Dyer, Pulling Your Own Strings. Look at how beat up and old this book is. See this guy, Dr. Wayne Dyer? If you see me looking around and I'm not looking into the camera, it's because we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the same time, folks. So he's written dozens and dozens of books. Rest his soul, he has passed on now. But this is pretty interesting. So begin to take constructive steps toward teaching people how to treat you. Let me back up a little bit. These very typical experiences which you might meet in your own life illustrate that you need not do anything immoral against your own personal values when you need to teach, and words have proved to be empty air. Indeed, 1,000 words will not leave so deep an impression as one deed. So begin to take constructive steps toward teaching people how to treat you by dismissing the words when they simply don't work, and developing instead an arsenal of effective behaviors that put your whole self where your mouth is. What do you expect from a drunk? What up, Jake the Lawn Kid? Jake the Lawn Kid's on here. You're famous, bro. Crushing it on YouTube. Proud of you, dog. Chance Daily Hustle. What's up, David Giraldo? Rex and Tina Arbuckle. Benjamin. Eric Lavelle. Juan. Alright, so what do you expect from a drunk? One of the more illogical, victimizing games people play on themselves is to expect totally unrealistic things of others. And when others do not live up to their expectations, they are shocked. I'm sorry, I have a little humidifier here. It's kind of loud. Let me turn it off. I like the light. So, one of the illogical victimizing games people play on themselves is to expect totally unrealistic things of others. And when others do not live up to their expectations, they are shocked, scandalized, offended, distraught. This game involves wishing others would learn what cannot be taught, or what is not your business to teach. A classic example of this kind of self-victimizing thinking lies in the way how many people react to drunks. Here is a drunk. You have spotted and labeled him as a drunk, and you know very well what a drunk is. Now, if you find yourself upset when this drunk acts drunk, are you in tune with the world and the way it works? And who is the loony person? The drunk who acts in drunken ways, the drunk who acts in drunken ways, or you who expect him to act sober? If you expect many drunks to be unruly, overly talkative, uncoordinated, or whatever, you should hardly be surprised when tonight's drunk displays this behavior. And you should act accordingly. Ignore him, get away from him, or whatever strategy works. You thereby avoid allowing him to pull your strings in any way. Here are some examples of the general expecting sober behavior from a drunk. Mentality that victimizes so many people. My wife is a quiet person. It really upsets me that she doesn't talk to me more. What do you expect from a quiet person? Noise? If your spouse is quiet, being upset when he or she does exactly what you'd predict is pretty absurd. My kid doesn't care about playing ball. It really upsets me that he's so unathletic. But why would you expect someone who doesn't want to throw a ball around to be good at it? So who's crazy? The kid, who is doing just what you'd expect, or you, who expect an unathletic kid to be athletic? That son-in-law of mine is always late. It really upsets me when he isn't on time. This kind of list could obviously go on forever, and it does. The point is that whether or not you begin to teach people to eliminate habits which impose on you, you teach them that you will not allow yourself to be hurt or immobilized by them when they are only behaving just as you would have predicted. I drank a bunch of water really fast before this live transmission, and it went in the wrong tube. Yes, I have met Dr. Wayne Dyer. And when he was done speaking, I gave my wife my phone. I said, quick, take a picture. And I ran and I jumped up on stage with him and I gave him a hug and then I got a picture. And you know what he said? Hey, I thought I was supposed to have security for this type of stuff. I couldn't help it, man. I had to get a hug from Dr. Wayne Dyer. But he was very nice. On being overly assertive, effectively assertive. Many people assume that being assertive means being unpleasant or deliberately offensive, but it doesn't. It means making bold, confident declarations in defense of your rights or your non-victim position. You can learn the art of disagreeing without being disagreeable, and you can stand up for yourself without being cantankerous. Cantankerous. If you get treated the way you teach others to treat you, then without assertiveness, you are most unlikely ever to be treated as anything but a victim. People who achieve their goals by pulling their own strings are unafraid to risk standing up and insisting upon their rights when they are threatened. They have learned how to fight their internal fears. They may not be brave, but they are firm and unwilling to back off in the face of potential victimizers. And the other side of the coin is that the more you avoid assertive behaviors, the more you teach others that you are willing to be their victim. Ooh, that's good, isn't it? I was about to tattle on myself, folks. I'll tell you, Kelfus is known for that. Yesterday I was in the kitchen and I said something silly to my wife. I was rushing around trying to do something. And she looked at me, she caught me, and this is what I like about being married to my wife. She goes, don't fucking pull that shit on me. And I stopped and I was like, Ah, thank you for that, for acknowledging that. Kalfas pulled a bitch move. I tried to, anyways. And here's the interesting thing about being married and being with this woman for 10 years. I can, spot when something is me or that's her stuff. That's her crap. And I can, that's your crap. I can do that, and then she'll feel that boundary, and we help guide each other on this path in our evolution. And we used to just get in a fight, but now we have this, it's called second stage compromise. It's a second stage conversation that's about fairness and functionality, right? And then the third stage is that of unconditional love. Okay, below are some examples of assertive successes reported by clients who are specifically working on their assertive behavior when these incidents occurred. Lois brings her 5-year-old son with her to the bank. Suddenly, he has to go to the bathroom. She approaches the bank teller and asks, "Can I use your bathroom, please? My son has an emergency." She is told, "I'm sorry, the bathroom is for employees only." What can Lois do? Take it and have her little boy wet his pants, rush around looking for a restroom in a gas station, or any of several alternatives that would victimize Lois and her little boy? No, indeed. She marches right up to the manager and asserts herself. "My son is having an emergency, and I would like to use your bathroom right now. I've been refused by the teller, and if you refuse me, I will never do business with this bank again." Lois is instantly granted admission to the bathroom with apologies for the teller's insensitivity. Conclusion: you get treated the way you teach people to treat you. Be assertive, and you won't be a victim. Charlie walks into a store, asking the clerk for change of a quarter to feed the empty parking meter. The clerk responds in an irascible tone. "What do you think we run here? A changing service? We're in business to make money, not to give change." Charlie instantly stands up to the clerk and responds, "You're obviously ticked off about something, and my asking for change has really set you off. I'd appreciate it if you'd make an exception and give me change, and I hope your day improves as well." Charlie was shocked at the response of the clerk. He not only received his change, but an apology. "I'm really sorry I have yelled at you. Things haven't been going so well. Don't take it personally." Had Charlie just skulked out, he would have been upset. Would have just skulked out, he would have been upset, a victim, and without his change. A simple act of assertiveness turned the whole thing around for him, and as he reported it in a counseling session, he was ecstatic over his newfound skill. This is good shit, man. Oh man, we're in for a treat tonight, aren't we, folks? Reading from Dr. Wayne Dyer's Pulling Your Own Strings. We're live here with my friends on Instagram. What's up, Davis Mike, Josh Hobday, Sergio Zapata, and Louis Andrade, Skyline Landscapes, Owens Lawn Service, Premier Scape, and I'm iAbility, the Crypto Cash. You were about to go see Wayne in Hawaii for his yearly seminar. So sad he passed away. Yes. Okay, this is good. This is about assertiveness, folks. All right, back to the book. I love story time with Keith. All right. Patty's husband brought a puppy home and informed her that they now had 2 dogs, but he expected her to clean up its paper training mess, feed it, discipline it, put up with teething on her kitchen set, cabinets and moldings, etc. Patty had taught her husband by her past behavior that she would accept such unpleasant chores whenever he forced them on her. Her solution was calmly to tell her husband that he was welcome to have another dog in the house, but that it was his decision alone, and so the responsibility for the dog was his. She then refused to change the puppy's papers, to allow it into the kitchen, or to walk it. After 2 days, her husband returned the puppy to the pet shop, and he had learned how she was going to be treated from her assertive behavior. Oh, that's a good one. So, last night, my wife, she got upset. She says, I've been cooking dinner, I've been doing the dishes, I've been doing the laundry, and I'm sick of this shit. I even made you coffee, and I brought it to you. You know what I said? I said, honey, tomorrow I'm going to make breakfast, and I'm going to make dinner, and I'm going to clean everything up, and you don't have to do a thing. So today, I made breakfast, and I served it to my wife, and I cleaned everything up. I did all the dishes, and then I thawed out some chicken, and I made dinner, and cleaned everything up. And the dishes are still in the sink, folks. I gotta go do the dishes after this. Man, I love being married to her. Anyways, has this quarantine thing made you just appreciate life at a whole new level? Okay, so Murray had decided to quit drinking. Signs of impending alcoholism had been pointed out to him in counseling sessions. He had decided to tighten up his own strings, but he wasn't getting much help from his friends, as illustrated by this dialogue he encountered in a nightclub. Murray, have a beer. I don't want to drink. Come on, don't be a spoiler, have a drink. No thanks. To the bartender. Give him a beer. No thanks. To the bartender again. Give my friend Murray just one beer. There, Murray. You have to drink it. I already bought you. You can buy all you want, but I still won't have a drink. By refusing to engage in self-destructive drinking, Murray used his new assertiveness to teach his friends how he was going to be treated, despite their use of several maneuvers to try and victimize him. You know, that reminds me of one time. I was with some friends, and they were trying to get me to take this stuff that was called E. And they're like, come on, Keith, take it. We took it. We're feeling great. And oh, what's up, Charles Doble? I have to get back. I'm sorry, you're my dude, man. We're cool. But I get so many messages that it was probably just something quick, but it's nothing. It's all good. But anyway, my friends are trying to get me to take this stuff called E. And I'm not going to lie. For a moment, I was curious. But then all I had to do was just take a look at them and how they were acting and being when they were on it. And I was like, well, I don't want to look like you because you don't look like you're having fun. So I'm not going to do it. And basically, I don't know, that's a different, I'll tell you the story. I got you curious now. They were standing in a circle, taking turns laying on the floor and holding their arms and legs up. And they felt like they were falling from the sky. And they're like, I feel like I'm falling through the floor, man. You gotta try this, Kelvis. I'm like, fuck that. I ain't trying that, bro. Anyways. Alright. Adele had always cooked a Thanksgiving dinner for her entire family's gathering and never received any help with it from anyone. She had never enjoyed it, but somehow it had evolved into a huge event. She had to put her time and energy into preparing a menu, cleaning her house from top to bottom, spending more money than she could afford, serving the meal, and cleaning up afterward, without even minimal recognition. She always felt victimized during the holiday, and after every Thanksgiving she would spend a week in a fit of depression, vowing to never let it happen to her again. Yet after 22 years, she still did it just because it was expected of her. But one year, Adele sent out a letter to the entire clan on October 10th, informing them of a new tradition. Thanksgiving dinner would be in a beautiful downtown restaurant. Each family would be responsible for making its own reservations. Afterward, they could all attend a concert. Everyone thought the idea was delightful. For the past 3 years, Adele has avoided the Thanksgiving doldrums and actually enjoyed the holiday, which had once been such a sore spot in her life. Assertive behavior won out, not only for Adele, but for everyone concerned. I had a landscaping client. You ever have a client, you give them a quote, you build an awesome sense of rapport with them, they want you to do the job, they're ready to sign on the dotted line, but then they start getting really, really complex. They start asking you a whole bunch of questions about the project. And you get home that evening, and now you get an email from them, and they're asking you even more complex questions about every little friggin' detail, to the point where you were like, I liked this customer. I'm excited about this job. It's a big ticket item. I really would like the money. And but at a certain point, it's like, is this customer going to be a big pain in my ass? So I'll teach you from what I've learned, and I'd like your input as well. You got to bite that. You got to, what is it called? Pinch it in the nub. You got to prune that. You got to, let me know in the comments. What is it? You got to put it out. So anyways, you get on the phone and you call up the customer and you have a conversation with them. Nip it in the bud. That's what it is. Nip it in the bud. Thanks, Davis Mike. and basically the sub communication with the customer is they have to feel that, they have to know that, the people like to, and they're spending their hard-earned money, and that's a good thing. But the value of the project, this is, even though it's their property and they're spending their money, this is your project. You're the artist. And you have to communicate that listen, if you're going to hire me, I'm drawing my line in the sand right now, that I'm going to take ownership of this project, and we're going to do a phenomenal job, and you're going to have to back off and trust me, because if you don't trust me now, then we're going to have a problem throughout the entire project of you coming outside and asking questions and wanting to complexify everything, and this whole job is going to turn into a nightmare. So they have to actually feel that you're willing to walk and say, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit. I know you're about to spend $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 right now, but we might not be a good fit. I might not be able to serve you at the level that you're looking for. I mean, I can show you. We've done work with thousands of customers and clients in the city, and I can show you a portfolio of projects and pictures of work that we've done. But I'm definitely the guy for the project, but I don't know, this might not be good. And if you do that, if you nip it in the bud, and if they ask you twice, if they ask you again, there's a certain way you can talk to them. I know that a lot of you guys know this. I just feel like talking about it because it's important. Being assertive. If you are assertive with customers and you don't allow them to walk on you because you quote unquote need money, because you get caught into this trap where now they got you under the, it's just a term. And that's why you should always get a signature and a deposit, because now they have investment as well. You're telling them to back off. And one interesting thing customers always do when they're about to get a multi-tiered or a complex project done, they'll try to find ways to get discounts on things or the biggest ticket item that make you go, you know what, like, and sometimes it's worth the conversation. Hey, absolutely not. I can't go down on any less on that. Maybe I can do this for you, but I just can't do it. But you're feeling like the whole rest of the project, oh my God, 10 grand is on the line, and this little thing, maybe I can just take $100 off here. But how do you feel at the end of the day? You know, I think if you guns, that customer is going to feel that boundary that you have, and now they're going to respect you. They're going to trust you because you stand your ground and you're assertive with people like that, your customers. That's going to make them want to do business with you even more, and now they're going to want to pay you, and they're not going to want to go with any other contractor because they know you're not bristed. They know you're not isn't that a word for like a pushover? You're not a pushover. And I had to learn that shit the hard way. I used to let clients walk all over me, and my business was miserable. I hated my business, and it sucked. But it's like this warrior mentality that you grow. It's almost like the masculine form of love, of how maybe a person or maybe a man who is in his masculine consciousness, that's your core, is masculinity. How you feel love is through respect. When you, yeah, because if you're not respected, then I mean, what's the point? You're just someone's bitch out there doing their landscaping for them. It just takes the whole, it just kills the whole vibe of you being your own boss and having your own business. And I think customers appreciate it when you have a strong demeanor about you and you're very passionate about their project and you take charge of it, and you've got your crew out there working, and they just get that feeling that, you know what, this is cool. They go back in the house and go back on their computer or whatever they do, and now they trust you so much they don't even want to know. Just let me know when to write the check. I like what you're doing. And here's another thing customers do. They'll tell you all day that they're going to write you, oh, I'll write you a positive 5-star review on Google, right? And at the end of the day, you're hunting them down and chasing them down to give you a positive 5-star review. I'm looking for a workaround on this. I haven't got this completely solved yet, but I think that a customer giving you a review needs to be baked into the process to the point where they actually do it, and they literally can't even go to sleep that night unless they're on Google giving you a well-written 5-star review. So, do I get leads from Instagram? No, I don't get any leads from Instagram. Okay. Irene and Harold found themselves victimized by an acquaintance as a place of refuge. Sam arrived unannounced, consumed hours telling them about his broken marriage, along with any other sordid stories they would absorb. At first, Irene and Harold didn't want to hurt Sam's feelings by telling him how they really felt. They thought it better to be dishonest and victimized by their friends than to offend a guest, cause a scene, etc. But after 2 months, Irene couldn't stand it anymore and finally told Sam she didn't want to listen to the sad details of his life, and that she didn't want him to invade her home whenever he got the urge to have an audience. From that moment on, Sam didn't abuse their friendship. He began to call and ask before he came over, and he visited less frequently. Irene's assertive behavior taught Sam how she wanted to be treated, just as her timid behavior taught him that it was okay to victimize her and her husband. So check this out. People do treat you how you condition them to treat you. If you have somebody that calls you to whine, bitch, or complain, right? I learned about this. It's the 60-second rule. 60-second rule. Everybody needs to vent sometimes, and it's healthy to vent. And you got what's called your Fab Five. It's the 5 people in your life that you trust, that you can tell anything to. Instead of going and whining and bitching and complaining, say to your wife, you would call up one of your somebody in your Fab Five, could be one of your best friends, and you just get it all out to them, and they do the same to you. And that's very important, right? Like business things. But if there's somebody calling you who's incessantly whining or complaining about their life and their circumstance, and it's getting to the point where it's taking a toll, and they're taking withdrawals from the relationship, and now there's a deficit, you just develop the 60-second rule. You say, give them 60 seconds, and if they don't stop bitching, you cut them right off. Hey, I gotta go. I got shit to do. I can't. I got problems too, man. Like, I love you, but maybe you can expend it to 2 minutes if it's something that's. It depends on what it is. There's a difference between a serious issue, because in my Fab Five, I have some very close friends to me that this is fascinating. Either my friend will call me or I'll call my friend, and we'll be venting about something that we're frustrated or angry about or upset about in our business or our personal life. Then what happens is the other person will give their input, but then they'll talk about something they're upset about. And now you both are going back and forth on the phone, and all of a sudden this thing happens where now you start getting incredibly creative when you're talking and coming up with these phenomenal solutions and understandings. I mean, I'm on the phone yesterday with a friend of mine, and he starts telling me something. I'm like, oh my God, I never even knew that about you. I never even knew that you went through that whole thing. I'm going through this problem right now, and you had already gone through that whole thing, and we've been friends for 10 years? Yeah, man. I'm like, he's like, well, you never asked. I'm like, tell me more. So now my friend, because I called him and trusted him to tell him my problem, my challenge, he tells me this whole story of this thing that he went through that was like actually like 3 times worse than what I'm going through. I'm like, oh, dude, I didn't know it got that bad, you know. And then he tells me how he came through it and how he came out on top and what he learned from it. And I'm getting all this value, right? And the next thing you know, we're on the phone and we're laughing because I'm laughing and then he's laughing. And now he's getting healed from the past. And he's getting all this value, tapping back into that situation and applying all this gratitude for today. And I'm getting coached by my friend. And now we're both laughing and we're in an entirely better place and we've learned something. And that's a very productive friendship, right? I think it's a very positive thing when you have somebody like that in your life and people like that, right? So, but there's a difference between whining and bitching and complaining. And if you enable people to do it all the time, you got to cut them off. And the whole boy who cried wolf thing. Did you, Alonzo the goat? Did you see Brian Fullerton's post? Yes, I see some stuff on the internet, even today, that makes my blood boil. Oh, why can't it be your wife? Yes, that's right, and I do talk to my wife about certain things. I do. But there's some things on the grid that it's like I don't even bring up to her, but there are some things that she has great advice. She has that intuition. What's up, Davis Mike? Okay, I'm going to keep reading here. Tony had always been meek in dealing with salespeople. He often found himself buying things he didn't want because he was afraid of hurting the clerk's feelings. While working on becoming more assertive, Tony went to buy some shoes. He was shown a pair he liked and told the salesman he would take them. But as the salesman was putting them in a box, Tony noticed a small scratch on one of them. He suppressed his immediate urge to forget it and said, "Please bring me another pair. One of those is scratched." To his astonishment, the salesman responded, "Yes, sir, right away." Tony walked away from the experience with a perfect pair of shoes and the knowledge of how easy it is to avoid being victimized. Even in small ways, if you assert yourself, this particular incident was a turning point for Tony. He began to practice assertive behavior in all areas of his life where the payoffs were far greater than getting an unscratched pair of shoes. His boss, his wife, his children, and his friends all talk about a new Tony who is not just taking it. Tony not only gets what he wants more often, but he has gained immeasurable respect from others and from himself. That reminds me, has anybody ever had an employee that walks all over you and you let him, and for some reason you just can't confront him and it keeps stewing and stewing because maybe they're doing something that is so irately absurd that you can't even wrap their head around it, and you just don't bring it up to them, right? And here's what happens. You deserve what you tolerate. So the longer it goes on, and the more suffering you go through, and the more you're doing a disservice to them by not bringing it up to them, you deserve it. And it'll go on as long as you let it go on. It'll just keep going on and on and on. So, here's what the opposite of that looks like. If an employee does something and it's stupid or disrespectful, say, right away, you nip it in the bud, don't do that. They go, "What? Yeah, we don't do that around here. And here's why. Because if you do that and you keep doing that, this could happen. And then if that happens, then this could happen. And then this whole house of cards could come crashing down, and then it'll be my fault because I didn't simply just tell you not to do that. So don't do that anymore." Deal? Okay. Problem solved. Let's see. Some common categories of people you have taught to victimize you. Below are some common categories of potential victimizers and a little bit about how you might size them up if you are to teach such people how you want to be treated. You will undoubtedly recognize yourself as having been victimized by many of these types in the past. And if you are candid with yourself, you will also note that you have fallen into some of these categories in victimizing others. Have you ever victimized anybody else? What's up, Brandon Floyd? Sounds like you're going to bed. Good night, sir. Thanks for being on here. And I see all of your comments. I see you. Drunks and people who are high. Although you may not want or be able to teach someone who is out of it anything he will remember for long, in the short run, you can teach him that he gets nothing out of using abusive tactics on you. Drunks and highs who want to talk forever, slobber, or stumble all over you, etc., will usually stumble elsewhere if they get no response. If they can hardly tell you from the furniture when they try to corner you, they will go elsewhere in search of a live one. And if they don't, you do. Boris. If you sit politely listening to a bore, nodding your head, but grinning your teeth in annoyance at his conversational selfishness and insensitivity, you are teaching him to do just what you resent. But bores are usually aware on some level that they are pinning you down, and they will often relent if you show that you know how to break their hold. Perhaps with some firm but good-natured remarks like, "Hey, do you realize that you've been talking for 15 minutes straight without noticing that I'm not interested? It's better to loosen up than to lose your ear altogether." Whiners and Complainers. What's up? Water Smart Detailing. Abercan Landscape. Bob Pitts. Tyler Wolf. Tom DeStefano. ASMR Card Fix. So, whiners and complainers. People who abuse you as a big ear for their complaining and whining can also be made to appreciate that without victims, they are out of business. And you can teach them a lot by showing them just how non-existent their holds on you really are. Bullies. People who shove others around, playfully or otherwise, will seldom respond to subtleties. Teaching them that you just won't take it usually requires some very assertive behavior. Victimizing hosts and hostesses. If you are people's guest, they can try to make it very hard for you to avoid playing games. You know what? I remember back in school, there was this guy, he was the biggest bully in the school. And I didn't want to cross his path because he was straight up evil. And I didn't want to get in a fight with him. But one day, I don't know why, I was walking in between classes, and today was my day. Out of the blue, I think I was carrying my books, and out of the blue, the hallways were packed and people were walking, and I'm just walking to my next class, and next thing I know, he pushes me into the wall, into a brick wall. And you know what Kelfus did? Dude, I socked that motherfucker in the face so hard. And there we were, dude, scrapping in the hallway, rolling around on the floor, beating the fuck out of each other. And I was relentless. And there was a whole crowd of people standing around. And I don't know, he never pushed me ever again. It was like a reflex. Man, I was thinking about this other fight that I got in. But I think about stuff differently today. I'm a full-blown adult. And obviously, if somebody attacks you, you're going to defend yourself. You should. But the interesting thing is, you're best off avoiding all physical confrontation and conflict that comes to do with something that's unnecessary. Because today, the way we live, we got people that are straight up tattletales, and if they even see a fight, they'll call the police. And I love the police. The police protect us. I got friends who are police. But what I mean is, and then the police show up, and then basically you get arrested, and then you have to go. You literally can end up losing thousands of dollars going through an entire process that could have been completely avoided if you would have just stayed away from those groups of people, or from that club or that bar or something like that. Or, you know, I think about stuff like that. Putting yourself in a situation. Wait, who won the fight? Everybody says that I won the fight. I guess he hit me like, he maybe hit me like 8 to 12 times, but I hit him like at least 25 to 30 times. And I think I landed every punch. I got in quite a few fights when I was a little younger. I was a good-looking guy, you know. Some people didn't like it. I'm just playing, folks. Victimizing hosts and hostesses. If you are people's guests, they can try to make it very hard for you to avoid playing games you don't enjoy, eating foods you don't like, or any number of things that may be demanded of a polite guest. But the right, quietly effective strategies can rapidly teach them that politeness has to work both ways. Arguers. Bob Pitts. I've had the same experience. That one day when you've had enough, they'll learn that day. Right? Real Talk 650. My brother, I just read your comment, and you are a good man. And I, my heart goes out to you, and I pray for you and your brother. That's very powerful what you just told me. All right, so a lot of comments coming in here. Rick Vent One, thank you. Toe Life, what's up? Okay, so arguers. To avoid arguments you enjoy, you usually have to refuse completely to stick to the game plan. Argumentative people thrive on their victims' inclinations to be seduced into conversations first, and then let themselves be trapped into vituperation. I gotta look that word up. The secret with them is to stay emotionally detached so you can implement the strategies mentioned earlier. Ooh, this is so good. So an arguer, a person who has, and Eckhart Tolle talks about this, they have to get this. Okay, so there's neuropeptides in the brain that become addicted to this fight or flight response, and they develop codependent relationships, and they engineer scenarios and situations with other people or loved ones to trigger arguments so they can have a fight and then get this like emotional hit of anger. It's strange, it's narcissistic, it's codependent, it's negative, and it's addictive. It's a cycle, and they'll suck people in. And it's called the mean sweet cycle. It's what narcissists do. So they'll be really, really, really nice to you to try to get you on the phone, or they'll have a conversation with you, and everything's okay. The person I love has returned. And then they'll start going into territories of conversation to trigger you, to get you really fucking pissed off. And then if it doesn't work, then they'll come around the back door and they'll try something else. And they'll keep trying, seeding and threading and weaving through the conversation, saying things that they know that piss you off. And then they'll say the right thing. If you don't do it, like they'll go up to a level 6, and then they'll dial back, and then they'll turn up to a level 10, and then they'll hook you. Right? And now you start getting angry and pissed off. And now they won't let go and they hook you, and then they'll get you into an argument. And it happens in a way that you just want to tell them where to shove it, but you don't, because then they use guilt tripping mechanisms, and they use all these different weird dark mechanisms. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. He calls it an entity. It could be an energetic entity in your subconscious, and some cultures call it literal entities like demons, right? And they can jump from person to person. So if you can breathe and stay detached when, say, that person calls, and not even let them hook you, you know what I'm talking about, right? You got to catch these people on their good times, but when they're in their bad times, you just stay away from them. You got to stay away, no contact. Projections, that's a good one too. It's awesome. Total Life 101. So perfect love casts out all fear. So some people don't want to talk about the truth, and if you talk about the truth with them, if you get very truthful, they can't handle it. They don't want the truth. They don't want to talk about real things. They just want to talk about hyperbole, rumor, hearsay, popular opinion. They just want to bullshit and go around in circles and suck you into drama, right? So they can feel a certain way, and then once they get that drug, that hit, then nothing else matters anymore, right? And if they can get you pissed off, then they can relax because now they've transferred their energetic pain body and their anxiety, they transfer it to you. And as soon as now you're all amped up and freaked out and pissed off, now they go, it's called monkeys on your back. They're trying to take their monkey off their back and put it on your back. And that person loves you. So now that you're aware of this, random axes in the house. William Elling, the guy who literally taught me how to do tree work, he's like, shut up, shut up. Okay, so people try to put their monkey on your back. Now, if you become aware of this and you don't let it happen, think about the monkeys that you're trying to put on other people's backs. I think I've done it. I did this yesterday. I got one of these crazy text messages about the situation that's going on, and I got all freaked out. I'm like, what? No way! And what I do, I send it to 3 people. And I wasn't even aware that the person could have been having a great day today, and now they're like, now they might be sucked in the rabbit hole because of something I did. Gotta be responsible here. All right, so check this out. Braggers and storytellers. If you're just joining, we're reading from Pulling Your Own Strings by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Oh, your supervisor at the plant does this to you daily? So we have some people here, all right, that agree, that have been through this. Okay, braggers and storytellers. Don't brag back or get caught in a contest to see who can tell the longest-winded story of the least interest to anyone else. If you don't participate yourself, you can teach others what they need to know by viewing them as bores, as boring. Resist the urge to brag. Here's an interesting one. If you've got a, I don't know, you've got a pocket full of gold coins and they're burning a hole in your pocket and you just can't wait to tell somebody about it. And you're talking to somebody and you tell them, oh, by the way, I have a pocket full of gold coins. You just stick your foot in your mouth, you stupid bastard. Because now they know you have the gold coins, and they're going to find a way to tell you a sob story to get the gold coins from you. Now it becomes a leverage. It's strange. It's like you're exposing yourself. You want people to think that you're smart. You want people to think that you are successful. And you can see right through it when somebody else does it. How much time is wasted in hypothetical egotistical bullshit that if we eliminate doing it ourselves to other people, we just solve 50% of the time wasted. And I notice that a lot of talking is, I'll just get them to tell you why they shouldn't have behaved as you did. Ooh. Or who willingly give you morality lectures based on their conviction that you should think, feel, and behave as they do, will continue forever unless you teach them that they are simply in no position to manipulate you in such a condescending way. Interrupters. People who just can't wait for conversational openings before jumping in with their points have to be taught a little patience. If you then interrupt them, you endorse the rule that the loudest and most persistent voice gets the floor. But if you react with sudden, shocked silence, the instant they cut you off, you make them realize what they've done, and often they'll apologize. If they miss the hint, the next time you may have to say, "You just interrupted me for the 10th time." Can't you remember what you want to say until I'm finished? Unless the person just wants to browbeat you, and you know what to do then. He will usually make an effort to curtail his habit, although he may continue to need good-natured reminder from you. And there is nothing more valuable than a good friend who puts up with your bullshit and your incessant talking and interrupting and loves you for who you are and still reminds you and stays your friend. Sometimes I'm on the phone with my friends and I get so excited I can't shut up. And they try to say something, I talk right over. I'm like, whoa, wait. Right? Shockers. If you can be shocked by language, sexual images, jokes, weirdo stories, or anything, then shockers will use them to victimize you. Teach them that it doesn't work by refusing to be offended for their benefit or entertainment. And if necessary, by showing that you consider such behavior childish. That's good. Con artists and fast talkers. The cold shoulder is usually the only effective teaching tool for people who don't care about you at all, though they will pretend to, except for what they can do you out of. Resenters. People who try to use their resentment at something you have done to manipulate and victimize you will only desist when you teach them that you refuse to let their resentment influence your future decisions. Try telling them this, and if that doesn't work, go-to strategies for dealing with people who just won't understand you. Reporters and squealers. You can only be blackmailed if you believe someone else's opinion of what you've done is more important than your own, or if you harbor paralyzing fears about what will happen if. Many times, a shrug and a brief "so what" will teach a reporter that you are not intimidated. Remember that threats may be useful to these people, but actually squealing is almost always useless. Headstrong insisters. People who are persevering and adamant in their attempts to get you to do things their way will, by definition, seldom be swayed by talk. The only way to combat their pleading, begging, cajoling, and demanding is to develop a deaf ear and a refusal to be moved. What book is this? Pulling Your Own Strings by Dr. Wayne Dyer. This book was written in probably the early 80s. It's dope, isn't it? This is a real book. All right. Ooh, here's a good one. Guilt merchants. People who want to sell you guilt for their own price, which is usually your manipulation, will learn not to peddle their wares on you as soon as they register if you them stop offering. I didn't get that. That was weird. Moody. If someone else into a blue funk or any contrary mood can take you with it, your independence, not to mention your happiness, can be undermined, and you can then be a good little victim. Persist in the mood you prefer. Tell people their misery doesn't need your company, and vice versa. Ask if they think two people wallowing in sadness are better than one. But in the end, of course, be prepared to ignore such moody behaviors. This guy had 8 children. 8 children. And one of his children, publicly, was a drug addict. And he still managed to write 42 books. And before he died, he gave the keys to his personal. Said everything in my condo, all my books, everything I've done, all my furniture, donate it and give it all away. I'm moving to Hawaii. And he moved to Hawaii. And he walked along the beaches. I'm sure he kept a couple $1,000,000 to pay all his bills, but you know what I'm saying. Greedy people. The video is paused. Guys, on Instagram, I gotta come right back. I'm going live. I'm checking connection. We're on iMobility. What's up, my friends on Facebook? Dylan Brannon. Is this book about mastering self-control? Yay. All right, ready? Keith Kelf is here, Pulling Your Own Strings. Dr. Wayne Dyer. Okay. Greedy people. Guys, give me 15 seconds. Everybody's joining back on Instagram again. Waiting for them to join. Okay. I'm going to move forward. All right. Greedy people. Greed may very well be the world's original victimizer. If somebody close to you is greedy and you place loyalty to him above your own principles and independence, you could virtually be taken for all you're worth. Whether it's in terms of your time, your money, or your freedom, etc., it is quite possible to love people and still not be seduced by their illegal or immoral greed. In fact, if you just tag along and take it, you are not doing a very good job of loving. Greed is just wanting more than your share of something at someone else's expense. And rip-off artists are never happy people. Greed in people you don't know or care about is to be expected and dealt with through whatever anti-victimization strategies that will teach them to leave you alone. But greed in someone you do care about has to be knocked back with every principle and behavioral strategy at the non-victim's command. The above 17 categories of common victimizers will pull your strings unmercifully unless you teach them not to. You always have a great deal more. I had a friend once, or so I thought this person was my friend. This person was so greedy that he took advantage of me, my time, my energy, and even ripped me off and stole from me what I would consider to be a sizable sum of money. And the person who seemed to be my good friend, I could laugh with this person, I could have lunch with this person, I could tell this person anything. I really thought this was my real friend. But this person was so greedy that when it came down to money, he ripped me off. And I learned a valuable lesson that, what's up, Quentin Howell? We got Quentin Digital Dream Studios in the house. It is true. There are people in this world who are so greedy that their head's still so up their ass that they will betray you and they will cross you. And these are people that you think that you can trust. And I thought I was such a good person in my own head that I literally couldn't believe it. I was blind to the fact that I was being ripped off. I couldn't accept it because I would never do something like that, right? But just because you would never do something so foul or so greedy doesn't mean that there aren't people in this world that aren't like that. There are people like that. And it's not a lot of people. It's a small percentage of people. And they make, I don't know, they make life a living hell for everybody else, and they need to be made an example of. And time will tell. Time makes them, usually, they get found out for their greediness. Okay. The next one here is some typical victim targets. Come on, man, greed is good. If I don't make money, I can't help my bros. I'm not talking about that type of greed. Yeah, the good capitalistic type of greed of having your own business and wanting to make a lot of money, I get that. I'm talking about the bad part of greed, of ripping people off, of being so greedy that you become consumed by the spirit of mammon. You know what I'm saying. No one is immune from the victimizing efforts of other people. Rich or poor, black or white, young or old, each of us has our own peculiar battles to fight. No matter who you are, the victim stamp can come out of the blue at any time without warning and smack you right on the head. Unless you have your anti-victimization umbrella with you and a keen eye for predatory weather. There are, however, always some people who must fight even harder than most to avoid victimization. The philosophy and strategies of pulling your own strings still apply to them, but their battles are tougher and longer, and their tolls of unavoidable failure are far greater. Sometimes the struggle to teach people that they won't be victimized is so costly that it seems the victories could not possibly be worth it. But for those who have persevered and won, there have been no such thing as compromise. As John Gardner stated, there are no easy victories. The greatest leaders of mankind have known all too well that people teach and learn others how they are treated from behavior. Departing a moment from the highly personalized approach to non-victimization that dominates this book and shifting for a moment to a larger social context, let's compare the philosophy of non-victimization as it's unfolded so far with the attitudes of some great people who have fought down through history. We'll find that they anticipated the philosophy of non-victimization in their own times. Abraham Lincoln could never be judged if people just talked about it. He understood that slave owners had to be taught with behavior, adamant behavior that showed that this institution would not be tolerated. Martin Luther King knew that people had to get out there and make noise, march, stir things up, enact legislation if his dream was to come true. Lincoln and King both knew the civil rights of minorities were being violated just because not enough people were standing up and saying, "Hold our society for words, 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 and finally action to teach people how you will be treated." Churchill understood that you didn't bargain with Nazis, as Chamberlain had so painfully learned. All the world would have been conquered by Nazis if people hadn't stood up with their behavior, risked their lives, and often lost them to halt the madness of total victimization that the Nazis spawned. Jefferson and Franklin knew the American colonies had taught the British they were willing to be treated as independents. Similarly, women in contemporary America have learned that they must claim their rights with their behavior, rather than asking for them with meaningless words and pet phrases. Women have been victimized largely because they taught men they would endure their subjugation. When that tolerance disappears, amazingly enough, equalization begins. The American Indians had learned that treaties and powwows are meaningless, and they are being listened to now because they won't continue being victims. The examples in social history are endless. Ralph Nader typifies this concept in contemporary America. He has convinced people through his behavior and the behavior of his raiders that he will not just sit back and let abuse continue to be visited on consumers. He is an activist who is making a difference by being visible and demonstrating his moxie with effective behavior where it counts. And Ralph Nader is getting results. Whether you agree with him or not, he is getting the big businesses of the world, including the U.S. government, to take note of his anti-victimization stance. This is the way all social change experts have operated, with behavior and clear understanding that you will always get treated as you teach others to treat you. The major categories of people who have been victimized in recent history are patently obvious. And let the younger generations take over, have more to offer than any single group, but they have been relegated to second society tolerates at best because they have taught younger people to treat them that way. Anyone over 5 who doesn't wish to be viewed as inferior or washed up generally isn't, but a group older, but activist Great Panthers. So this was written a long time ago. This is interesting stuff, my friends. Religious minority groups in the United States have also been widely, I can go on and on and on. And I'm interested, I never heard Wayne Dyer talk about this stuff. Maybe I went and opened up and read this chapter for a reason. I didn't plan this, folks. It's just a book about pulling your own strings. Look. Dynamic techniques for dealing with other people and mastering your own life. Okay, I'm going to read this and I'll end this, all right? You're tired now? Cameron White? Yeah, this is good stuff, huh? I'll read this last page and we're done. What's up, Dino Moans? Her text. Matthew Nickel Fitness. Windex King. Great View Landscapes. All right. Backwoods PNW. You're welcome. You like the ripped cover, Miss Writer? We want to teach other people new, amazing way you. Stop expecting to be abused. Accept that you have a history of being maltreated, not primarily because others have taken advantage of you, but because you have taught them to do so. The attitude that you are responsible for most of your treatment by others transforms what you expect to suffer from them into what you expect of yourself. Virtually all human change begins with attitude. Adopt a non-victim code of ethics for yourself which you can work on in quietly effective ways and about which you refuse to compromise. For example, I will not be taken advantage of by drunks. I will not talk to them for more than 5 minutes, nor will I ever get into a car or to be by a drunk. Number 2, I will refuse to explain myself to anyone who is obviously not interested in hearing what I have to say. The moment I become aware that I am talking to a stone wall, I will cease in myself. Number 3, I will up after anyone. These kinds of rules of conduct are: you refuse to drive your husband and all his friends to the golf every Sunday, discussed with others, and usually shouldn't be. You might create use arguments and if that's doing something. You know what this guy said, Dr. Wayne Dyer? He said in his house, he didn't even know or want to know how to change a light bulb. And he would get in these arguments with his wife because if he needed a light bulb fixed, he had an assistant. I know this sounds kind of crazy, and I might be drawing it out of proportion, right? I'm just trying to pull from memory. But he said if he had an Indian name, his Indian name was he who writes and try to fix the plumbing, then he would condition everybody in his house that he was the guy who fixed shit, right? Conditioning him with that. So his job was to pick up the phone and call buddy to come fix it so he could focus on his highest level tasks, right? Here's an example I learned. This is a very small example. My wife hates spiders. I think they're good luck. So we're at opposites here, right? Except for one night, a spider was crawling on my arm, and I jumped up. What? I jumped and flung it all the way across. The thing was running across the room. I was like, "There's a spider!" She goes, "What?" It's a spider! I turn on, the thing runs under the hides in the closet and shit. Now we're up at 4 a.m. and I'm looking for a spider. Alright? But she hates spiders. And I've got a whole thing in the garage of this house spray stuff for spiders from Home Depot. It's like a insecticide. And I've also got bug bomb spray. And I've got a can of the stuff. And if I wanted, I could gear up and put on a suit and a mask and spray for spiders around the house. And like, we could all go for a car ride for a couple hours, whatever. I'm like, dude, I don't have time to do that shit because I'm working on a project right now. And I thought about it. I was like, wait a second. So my wife just called up an exterminator and we had them come spray our house. And I gave him the credit card over the phone. It was like $105, right? And I just spent that hour working on something that made me at least $105. And then I wasn't stuck dealing with fucking spiders. I argue with people about that shit all the time. Like, think about this. If you're in a landscaping business, I don't know. Wouldn't you be better off just picking up the phone and calling customers and selling jobs, or going out and selling more work and just doing more landscaping? I don't know. Like, for instance, I suck at painting. I hate painting. Shit me to paint anymore. because I'm horrible at it. Anyways, practice reacting as much as possible with behavior instead of words. React drastically to being abused. Try out new behaviors which will shock your victimizers. If you were intimidated by someone's swearing, give it back in spades just for the shock value and to teach that you are capable of being assertive. Walk out of, you know who's really assertive? My friend William Elling, the tree guy. He was on here a little bit ago. He's the guy with the big blonde beard. If you try to pull some shit on him, he'll cut you. No. He'll cut you off in 2 seconds, dude. And if you keep going, he'll fucking tell you off into like he doesn't let people walk on him because he's literally has a successful business and he's literally lived in his truck at one point. Like he's been all across the board and he knows what it's like to fight tooth and nail to bring home bread, pay his bills, and to build a business. And he knows it just. I like having friends like that. All right, so. Walk out of situations where someone is assaulting you verbally. If you need to, you can always take a cab home. Be firm with behavior at the beginning of your new teaching process so the message that you are not going to take any more abuse comes through loud and clear. It's easier said than done, isn't it? All right, if someone in your house shirks his responsibilities, your usual tendency is to complain, but to do the job yourself. Remember that you have taught the person to act that way. Oh, shit, man. Next time, teach him something different. If your son is supposed to empty the garbage and doesn't, remind him once. If he ignores you, give him a deadline. If he ignores the deadline, calmly empty the garbage on his bed. One bed emptying exercise will do more to teach him that you mean business than all the meaningless words that have got you nothing but upset. Eliminate complaining words and phrases from your vocabulary. Stop blaming everyone else for your foul treatment. Stop yourself from saying things like, it's his fault, she's to blame, I can't help it, they did it to me, they don't respect me, and the like. Instead, think to yourself, I have taught them to do this to me, or it's my fault for allowing this to happen. These are reminders to work at changing your victim status rather than reinforcing it. Stop waiting for things to get better. If you are waiting for people to stop abusing you, you'll end up waiting forever. Become that effective teacher now, and don't stand around anticipating that passing time will bring you better treatment. Vow to take active risks when dealing with potential victimizers. Build up the courage to strike back at the bully just once and take a good look at the results. Talk back to an overbearing person. Speak up when group doings victimize you. Walk out of situations that you see are hopeless or not worth the hassle. Kick yourself in the rear end just once and do it. And you'll find assertiveness getting much easier. Every march of 1,000 miles begins with one step, but you must be willing to take the first step to overcoming your fear and inertia for just one tiny second. Practice assertive sentences, even in places where it may seem silly. View these exercises as rehearsals for the big events. Talk up to waiters, salespeople, strangers, bellboys, desk clerks, reservationists, cab drivers, milkmen, or whomever. Tell them that you would like from them. Tell them what you would like from them and see if you don't get your respect and service from your accounts. Stop using sentences that permit or invite people to victimize you. Such put-downs as, I'm not very important, I'm not really that smart, I'm no good at figures, I never really understand legal matters, or I'm not too coordinated, are really licensed for other people to take advantage of you. If you tell a waiter you're no good at figures while he's adding up your check, you're teaching him that you won't catch a mistake. common sense isn't common practice. And I think you can just figure all this stuff out on your own. I feel almost reading it, but it is a good book at certain points because it's a good reminder, right? Personal development is something that goes on and on and on and on. It's always good. I'm on the phone with my friend Rob, who's the life coach, great friend of mine, and he's talking about health and nutrition and eating organic green vegetables and fruits and drinking lots of clean, healthy, filtered water and about different vitamins. And I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, what? God, I know this. And I got so motivated on the phone with him that I got a bunch of kale and vegetables and fruits, and I made a big green smoothie, and I've been drinking this green smoothie. And so it's good to be reminded of personal development. Here we are. Stopping sentences that permit or invite people to victimize you, such as put downs as I'm not very important, or I'm not really that smart, I'm not good at figures, I'm not good at legal matters. Okay, so refuse to do chores which you absolutely hate, which are not necessarily your responsibility. If you hate mowing the lawn or doing the laundry, then stop it for the work if you can't afford to do it. Or teach others in the family to begin to take care of themselves. If you've always done the laundry for the grown-up members of your family who are perfectly capable of doing it for themselves, then you have taught them to use you as a victim. The only way out of the trap is to stop doing it. And when they want clean underwear, they can wash it. Not only will you be doing them by teaching them some self-reliance, but you'll be freeing yourself from the drudgery of always having to wait on others. This can also apply to things like being coffee, the minutes at meetings. I have to admit something to you guys. Honey, I love you. My wife does all the laundry. She's always doing laundry. She folds all my boxers and socks and shirts and pants and puts them. And I don't ask her to do this. And you know what she said? I do all your fucking laundry. And I said, I love you for that. That's amazing. And then I said thank you. And then one time we got in an argument, and I said, well, why don't you fucking do laundry? I'll do my own hamper. I'll do my own fucking laundry. She goes, you're a fucking asshole. And then she's angry, and then she'll start literally angrily doing the laundry. When she gets mad, she's one of those women, when she gets mad, she starts cleaning the whole house. She's pissed now. She's cleaning. It's fucking hot, dude. She's so hot when she's cleaning the house, dude. I look at her, I'm like, damn, she's hot. And then she gets more mad, right? So I try to pitch in and help her, right? It's some latch ditch. You see? I'm folding the towel. She goes, give me those fucking towels. You don't even fucking fold them right. This woman can fold a towel perfect. Every same like clothing store, and when you open up our dresser drawers and our linen closet, I was born in a barn. I don't have the ability to fold the towel like this. She can fold. This woman is brilliant, but I still try, and I'll stand next to her, and I'll just be present, and I'll start folding towels next to her. And then she gets a kick out of it, right? And I still don't know how to fold the towels right. And then what I do, I'll jump in, I'll start putting all the towels away. I'll start see? What else do you need? What? See? Now I'm fucking taking the garbage out. Huh? And I'll start doing the dishes. Get out of here. You don't even do the dishes right. I'm like, what? This woman washes all the dishes before she puts them in the dishwasher. I said, why would you put them in the dishwasher if you just wash them? No, no, no. She has to wash them before she puts them in the dishwasher. Alright, I'm gonna admit something else. I don't even fucking know how to operate. I don't even know how to fucking operate the washing machine or the dryer. I tried to do the laundry and I fucking destroyed the laundry. Anyways, man. Why did I tell you all that? So, when I first started dating her, I had roommates and I lived in this condo. And there was first I lived upstairs, but there was a finished basement. So I moved into the basement, and she would come over when we first started dating, and she'd go, "Oh hell no!" It was like my room down there, right? And she would literally start cleaning my room and putting my laundry away and wiping everything down, and she wouldn't even sit on my bed until she made my bed and fluffed the pillows and tucked my bed in. And I was like, and I would just stand there like, "What are you doing? This is my fucking room. What are you doing?" She's like, "Hell no." She's like, "I can't take it. I can't take it." And she would so I don't know, dude. It was fascinating. So then this is the first time we kissed. So it's like midnight now. She's over at my house. We're just friends. We're just hanging out, right? I say, "Listen, it's midnight. Aren't you supposed to leave?" I said, "Well, you know what then? I'm just gonna go to bed." Because my bed was in the bedroom. I was like, as I lived in a condo. I'm like, I'm just gonna go lay down and go to bed. And you can just leave whenever you want. Right? I played the old trickaroo on her. It was the old trickaroo. And what did she do? She came onto me. She came and she sat down on the edge of my bed, and then she laid down in the bed next to me, and then she rolls over, and then next thing she's cuddling with me and she's kissing me, and it was mighty amazing, might I add. And then yeah, from that moment, dude, like we had never not been together for a single day. It's been like 10 years. It's amazing when you love somebody so much that you just die for them. Okay, so this can also apply to things like getting the coffee at the office, taking the minutes at meetings. Generally, you are the doer of menial tasks only because of... What's up, Joseph Vega? Keith Smooth, Kita 503. You've taught others that you'll do it without complaining. Don't be seduced by the initial efforts of victimizers to reject what you're trying to teach them. Their reactions may be extreme in either direction. You may find people getting very angry and loud, or you might be indulged with a few bribes, such as gifts and extra doses of consideration, when you become more assertive. View all initial reactions as and let time turn distance. Be firm in your resolve regardless of the reaction. Others will see that you are serious, and they will treat you as you teach them to treat you. That is, with respect. Don't let others make you feel guilty about your new assertive behaviors. Resist the temptation to feel when somebody gives you a hurt look, or a plea, or a gift, bribe, or an angry response. Generally, the people whom you've taught to victimize you won't quite know how to react to the new you. Try to be lovingly firm at these times. You can be willing to explain why you are being assertive, as long as they are willing to hear you. But if they start with, "yes, but," or whining, "it's not fair," or "you never did that before, why are you doing this now?" Then you revert to behavior which says that you are determined to carry out your convictions. Be alert for genuine feelings of exasperation into being the good old victim that you have always been. You simply refuse to acknowledge. Teach others that you have a right to reserve time to do the things you enjoy. Be adamant about taking breaks from a busy office, a hot stove, etc. Go poke around in the world. Count your relaxation and enjoying time as of paramount importance, which it is, and be religious about not allowing others to encroach on. If you are constantly being interrupted, try the same strategies automatically to become a middleman in resolving other people's disputes, especially those of little children. Teach people that you value yourself too much to be a referee or to take sides in their battles unless you want to and can clearly do some good. Keep a log of how others victimize you with their words. If you're a belaggard mother, chronicle how many times a day you hear, "Mommy, Mommy, what should I do?" or "Do it for me," or "That's okay, she'll do it." When you see how often others use their language to reaffirm you as a victim, you'll be better equipped to combat it with new behavior, and a log or a diary will help you see. Practice not being angry with others you've taught to manipulate you into anger. If you have traditionally got bent out of shape by anger and ended up saying and doing things that you've later regretted, win back self-control. Children are expert at helping parents become angry, even if it means spankings are being sent to their rooms. What they have won is a certain mastery of the situation. By being firm rather than outrageously angry, you maintain control. And only then can you avoid anything. When your angry outbursts cease, that alone will often stop the victimizing behavior of others. Get an ally to discuss your new teaching strategies with you. Develop a confidential relationship with someone who can think with you about your victories and defeats. Be candid. Share your feelings about your new efforts with a sympathetic listener, and a friend will give you strength and perhaps a supporter in certain encounters. Indeed. Davis Mike. One thing, you really do show mad appreciation for your wife. I need to try and genuinely be that way. No reason for me not to, but I just gotta be a tough guy, I guess. You know, my wife recently got over being sick for a year, and we racked up thousands and thousands of dollars in medical fees. I can't say too much because she's talked about this now. We didn't talk, but and in that time period, our faith and our devotion to each other, we grew tighter. We grew a bond through the hard times that we've been through together. Have made us grow a bond that is unbreakable. And I've seen there's times when my wife was trying to bring clarity where I was blind and I couldn't see, where she would argue and fight with me, and I thought she was attacking me, and she would not let up until the point where I would literally break down in tears to see her point. And when I finally would see the point that she is trying to convey to me, even though it took us to the edge of insanity and crying and fighting, when I would be crying, finally just give up, because I'm a stubborn bastard. I am. Are we still here? We're here? Okay, good, good, good. I have a timer on my Wi-Fi in the basement, and it shuts off at night, and then it stays off all the way until 8 o'clock in the morning. Because I don't want no Wi-Fi frequencies, dog. Alright, so I had to switch to regular phone. So here's what I learned. Where I thought my wife was attacking me at times, and I thought that she was like my enemy or trying to cut me down or trying to be against me or against my dreams, against my beliefs, against my hopes, and any crazy shit like that. What I learned was that she was trying to get me to see something that I was blind to for my own benefit because she loves me and gives a fuck about me so much. And then at the precipice of this, where I'd be like, say, crying, or like this overwhelming feeling of gratitude would flow through me, and I would be like, why do you love me so much that you'd be willing to literally go to hell, through hell and to the edge of the earth to get me to see this? You could have given up on me a long time ago. Why didn't you just give up on me and tell me to go fuck myself, or just... I feel weird sharing this right now, but when you know that somebody loves you so much that they'll fight tooth and nail with you for your benefit. I'll give you an example. My wife is an amazing woman. She's incredible. Man, I'm sharing a lot here. You and your wife went through the same thing? Yeah. Concepts landscaping. There was times in my life in the past where I would bend over backwards for people who would not do the same for me. And I would let people take advantage of me. And I had such a good heart that I would do it to the point where it wasn't even helping our own home and our own household. Coming from being broke and from raised in a welfare broken family and the things that I had faced and endured, it made me have such an open heart towards other people that I wanted to help everybody. And I couldn't stand the fact of telling people no, to the point where I became a doormat. I wanted to help other people so much because I know what it feels like. I'm like an empathetic person. I know what it feels like to struggle and suffer, and I wanted to be there for everybody. And we got in this argument one time. She couldn't take it anymore because I was putting too much energy outside of our marriage and our own household and furthering our lives because I wanted to help everybody else. And I didn't know how to say no. Thank you, Joseph Vega. And no means no means no. And sometimes even saying no to people that you love, right? And what I didn't see is I actually had an underlying self-sabotage going on, that I felt guilty about becoming more successful than the people around me. I felt guilty if I made more money or moved into a nicer home or got a brand new truck or any of these things. I felt that I would be doing it and slapping people in the face or so, whatever it was this victimized poverty mindset from when I was a kid, and stupid bullshit that was told to me. And so I was self-sabotaging. And little by little by little, I don't think this just happens in one day, I was able to generate success for myself. It's burned in our subconscious, he says. Thank you. I was at a level, I was able to generate success for myself and do things that I had always dreamed of doing. And I don't feel guilty anymore about being successful. I don't feel guilty about having money in the bank or food in the fridge or a successful business. I don't feel guilty. And I learned this from Brendan Burchard about saying no to people. I don't feel bad when I reject one, because I know that I serve many. So if you have to stop everything you're doing to... What's up, Brandon Shaw? Thank you. If you have to stop everything that you are doing to constantly run and save somebody who keeps crying wolf, and they know that you're going to run and save them every time, and you're afraid to tell them no because it's like they're going to drown to death. I have to save this person. You are affecting your entire life and your legacy and your family and everything. At some point, you have to do exactly what this book says and install a new healthy boundaries with people, with employees, with clients, with family members, with friends, and don't let people victimize you. And it's a long, hard process, but one day it becomes, you wake up and you realize, oh my God, it's all becoming clear. I was angry for a while for the things that I was lied to growing up. Because sometimes when we look at people who, let's say people who make a couple $1,000,000 a year, right? Just because money's an easy example. You, and if we don't have that skill or that abundance mindset, we don't live in that paradigm yet, we might get upset. But I think what we're really asking is, how does that person believe in themselves so much? How does that person not feel bad making that much money? How do they feel? How have they rewired their brain to feel good about that? You know, those type of things. Because I think if you can get those things figured out, a lot of the other problems that we face will fall into place a lot more quickly. Just like developing consciousness around building systems. Systems thinking is a whole nother thing. I was doing a whiteboard video on it. And I'll talk about it briefly. If you are trapped in fight or flight mode and your amygdala is triggered, you shut down the part of the prefrontal lobe and the neural cortex of the brain that makes you have secondary and third order consequential thinking that allows you to, well, what happens if I do this? What happens like you don't think down the road logarithmically or geometrically. You get stuck in linear traps and you're like a mouse and a piece of cheese. You're just trying to mitigate risk at that point, and you can't have any effective critical thinking skills. You're just trying to survive. So if you're running like a rat on a wheel in your life and in your business, and you're always in survival mode, and you don't know how to let go of these, I'm getting too deep here, but if you don't know how to let go of the things that are trapping you and let some abundance flow in your life, then you'll never be able to sit down and write out a marketing system or a sales or a phone system or scripts for your business, because you're so conditioned and trained to do the trick and get the treat and the mouse and the cheese thing, that if you're not getting a payoff for that immediately, you can't do it. You don't have time for it. You actually can feel like you're dying by trying to do anything that, doesn't mow the lawn, get the check. Wash the house, get the check. We've been so conditioned that we have to do sweat equity, hard physical labor to get dollars, that it's hard to get to the next step, especially in the service business. I know I have a lot of those trappings in my own business. I love reading. Can I read a little bit more? What's up, Jeff, Cherry, Christopher writes, Skylar, Tolly. Alright, I'm going to read a little bit more. Chapter 7, Never Place Loyalty. And I have a new book coming out soon. My book is actually done. It's finished. It's in publishing right now. I'm just building out the website and landing pages. There's an audiobook version of it as well. It's called Your First Year in the Landscaping Business. So you can expect to see me promoting that soon. Chapter 7, Never place loyalty to institutions and things above loyalty to yourself. If you are what you do, then when you don't, you aren't. The misuse of loyalty. Loyalty does not mean slavery. You can be faithful to any organization and devote yourself to its tasks with honesty and integrity without having to become its servant. The most important person in the world to whom you should be unswervingly loyal is yourself. You only have one life, and to let some business or other institution control it is particularly foolish. When you consider that so many more alternatives are available, loyalty is misused when people are giving less important than profits. And when the human spirit is sacrificed for the name of good old anything Inc., how are you to use your loyalty is totally up to you. You can make your own happiness and responsibilities to help and love others in your family the most important things in your life. You don't have to explain it to anyone, but you can begin to make your life work around the concept of loyalty to yourself. I'm going to put the book away. What's up, Chris Titus? Oh, thank you. I need to know how to afford employees. Well, that's a nice fun catch-22. An expensive one. Yeah. I'm not talking about that right now, though. So I do want to say you ever heard that thing with the plane goes down, like you put the oxygen mask on yourself first? I repeated that in my head a lot. And, if you take care of yourself first, then that allows you to take care of others. Because if you constantly keep putting everybody and everything before yourself, and you're even to the detriment of your own health and your own well-being, it will grind you down to a nub to the point where you become so ineffective that now you're not good to anybody. So for me, I had to grind myself down to a nub and sabotage and destroy myself into times of depression where I couldn't get out of bed, so exhausted from letting my clients run my life and the need for money that I became just burned myself out many times. And it wasn't until I was in my, mid-30s where I had enough of that shit. And the funniest thing is when you start to draw your lines in the sand and stand up for yourself and stand up for, what you believe in and just not tolerate, you develop these provisions, you develop these mandates, and you don't even have to write them down. They're just things that you will and won't tolerate anymore. You'll notice a lot of the wasted energy in your life are coming from battles that you're choosing to partake and play in by being a yes man, and you're the one burning up all your own energy. You're the one allowing it to happen. But we tell ourselves victim stories that say, well, I have to do this because if I don't, then XYZ will happen. And if we can get caught in a victim cycle where we can end up going fucking crazy and losing everything, and I've seen people do this. And the truth is, if you can get out of your own head and look at somebody else who's figured it out, chances are they're not smarter than you, they're not luckier than you. They just have a different mindset and they've figured it out. And I think that's why it's so important to surround yourself by other small business owners, entrepreneurs, success-minded people, people who don't put up with your victim stories or bullshit, who will hold you accountable and hold your feet to the fire, and that will coach you and love you through it and get you excited and enthusiastic about your business again, about your marriage again, about your health again, about your fitness. Have people in your life that you hold in high regard, that you don't want to let down, but that also love you and care about you for you, regardless of what you have or don't have, or what you own, or how much money you make, or any of that stupid materialistic bullshit. When you have friends that will talk things out with you, you go, I never thought of it that way. Oh my God. Like I have this friend, Eric Reno, he's the roofing guy. You probably all heard of Eric. Eric he's a very shrewd businessman. He is the ringmaster. But for some reason with me, he opens up and we can talk about anything on the phone. And I can talk about things with Eric. Just certain things, usually business things, and we'll bounce ideas off of each other. And I'll go, oh, like you ever get those big aha? You get the big aha. And it's like there's a new neural network of circuitry. There's a blast of enthusiasm, and then neurons that fire together, wire together, and now you all of a sudden connect all these dots, and a new possibility emerges in your mind, in your imagination. And Einstein said imagination's more important than intelligence. So if you're obsessed with all the things that you think you know, yet you're trapped in a self-limiting belief, you're still fucking trapped. It doesn't matter. More information isn't going to help you. What you really need is a breakthrough and a new possibility. You need to explode into a new paradigm. But sometimes you have to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough. You have to get to the point where you're so low in your breakdown that you're actually, when the pain of changing is less painful than the pain of staying the same, you'll change. And my friend Joshua Latimer said something interesting. He said he does coaching, right? He's a Conquer coaching and all that. He'll be on the phone with small business owners sometimes, and they'll say things like, I can't take this, I can't do this one more year, or I'm literally gonna go nuts and I'm gonna quit everything and get rid of my whole business. I can't do this one more year. Rock bottom, Concepts Landscaping says, right? Davis Mike. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so they say they can't take it one more year, they're gonna go nuts. And here's what Josh says to him. He goes, no, I don't buy that bullshit. You could put yourself through this pain and suffering for another 10 years, maybe in 15 years, easily. What do you mean, one more year? You could go on and on and on suffering like this for another decade. Don't bullshit me. He has this keen ability to just sift through bullshit and find the problem. And Joshua Latimer will not let you get away. He'll just sit there and he'll hold the problem, what you're avoiding, and he'll shine a big spotlight on it until you're fucking right, dude. You're right? That's what I like about Josh. But people like that help you because you're telling yourself a lie, because you're getting some secondary emotional payoff for it. And that payoff is you don't have to take responsibility. You could just keep being a little bitch and just keep being a victim. I can talk about this stuff because I've been that person, right? I know what it's like. And now, some of it's just part of being in business. I mean, it's fucking really hard. You have to be all over it all the time. You have to be very attentive to your business or it's not going to work. You're in the service business. But there's an unhealthy side of it where you become obsessed with the problems and all the things that aren't working and everything you hate about it, to where now it becomes a burden. Now you don't want to pick up the phone. Now you don't want to call customers back. Now you don't want to make important decisions and you start evading and avoiding things. That's a dangerous place to be. Now you're in the red zone. And if you don't that's a dark place to be in. And if you don't find a way to get excited about your business again, or look at it in a new way, or start taking some chances, or breathe life back into your business, or get around some people quick, you can end up in a dark place and end up losing your business. And sometimes an important thing is pressing the reset button. Shit can get so bad, or maybe you have a business partner, or you have clients that you can't stand. You've dug yourself into a hole. You've taken on too many commitments, and now it's time to upgrade your identity. Sometimes you have to let go of the old stuff to bring in the new. And it's a painful process, but once you do it and you cut those cords and cut those strings, it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes you gotta fire that guy. I don't know who that guy is, but maybe you gotta fire them. You gotta call them up and have that conversation, and they are not welcome in your company anymore. Sometimes you have to fire that client. And I have troubles with this, but the people that I know that are the most successful are the people that make decisions fast. They're about evolving and evolution, and they don't let their own victim story or their own bullshit get in the way. And they're also part of accountability groups. They have people that hold their feet to the fire. Okay, my friends. Nighty night, and thanks for joining me. If you like Storytime with Keith, let me know. Hit me up in the comments below, and I will see you soon. And I've read all of your comments, even if I didn't respond. Scottish Grass Cutter, what's up?